we're tracking it very closely. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, as per latest reports by global oil trade trackers, big headline that India is surpassing many nations of the world to emerge as one of the top most refined petroleum products exporter to Europe, even more than Saudi Arabia. The reason why this is significant is that this is the same Europe now taking refined oil from us that talks tough on imposing sanctions on Russia, and back in 2022 wanted to blame and villainize India for buying oil from Russia. Well, our foreign policy keeps that nation first ahead. We did not budge under Western pressure, and today our decision is the reason why India is a global oil refining hub and a bigger exporter of oil products to Europe than even Saudi Arabia.
India is emerging as one of the largest petroleum products exporter to Europe. As per latest reports of some global tracking agencies, India has emerged as the fourth largest oil refiner in the world, with at least 15 to 17 European nations among India's top 100 export destinations. As per estimates, the highest importers of refined petroleum products from India are nations from Europe, with exports reaching over 1.5 lakh barrels per day. This is especially important as the same Western nations directed a lot of ire against India for purchasing Russian oil in the aftermath of the Ukraine war amid surging global oil prices.
ये यूक्रेन की लड़ाई के कारण पेट्रोल वाले तेल की कीमत ये दुगना हो चुकी और हम पे बहुत दबाव था कि कुछ देश से लें, कुछ देश से नहीं लें, कैसे लें, किस कीमत पे लें। और इसमें भी मोदी सरकार जो है और खुद प्रधानमंत्री की सोच थी कि जो हमारे राष्ट्र हित में है हमें करना चाहिए, और अगर कहीं दबाव आए तो हमें दबाव का सामना करना चाहिए।
Forcing India to call out Western hypocrisy vis-a-vis Russian oil.
You know, it's interesting because we've seen for some time what looks almost like a campaign on this issue. Now, I was just reading a report today that in the month of March, Europe has bought, I think, 15% more oil and gas from Russia than it did the month before.
Now, as India's oil exports to Europe surged by over 2.5 lakh % as compared to 2018, the biggest question emerges. Is West's hypocrisy on Russian oil imports finally exposed?
And on that report, we have Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri with us this evening. This report, Mr. Puri, getting a lot of attention, that India has become Europe's top supplier of refined fuel, petroleum products. That's sort of a headline-grabbing story doing the rounds that India has surpassed Saudi Arabia. Can you tell us more about what the facts are in this context and where we stand?
Thank you very much, Arnab. I'd be happy to take you through the facts as I understand them and do some context setting.
Yes.
Let me clarify at the outset that insofar as Indian supplies of refined petroleum products to Europe is concerned, we used to do an average of about 154,000 barrels a day before the Russia-Ukraine military operation, and we are doing about 200,000 barrels a day now. And this varies from time to time depending on the global situation. Now, the interesting thing is, as far as Saudi Arabia is concerned, in the interest of objective context setting, Saudi Arabia has a refining capacity of about 3.3 million barrels a day. And they consume domestically 3.7 million barrels a day. So it stands to reason that Saudi Arabia does not have the exportable surplus. So it's very possible when analysis is done, some people seem to overlook that. But the good part of the story here, and what should really grab attention not only in India, it's outside, is that we have steadily moved, Arnab, from being a deficit country insofar as refining is concerned. We have moved in from 2001, from the Vajpayee era onwards, which has been accelerated by the Honorable Prime Minister. We have now moved into a major refining global hub. We are now only after, I think, the United States, China and Russia. We are the fourth largest global refining hub. But the even better news is that our refining capacity is going up, whereas in all these other countries, the refineries, the small ones, are either closing down or, not expanding. Today in India, if memory serves me right, we have a refining capacity of something like 268.7 million metric tons per annum. I'll repeat that, 268.7 million metric tons per annum. And we already have plans in motion, plans which are currently being implemented as we speak, to take that capacity up to 310 million metric tons per annum. And we are now having brainstorming sessions amongst us whether this should go up to 400 million metric tons per annum or even 450. Because apart from refined petroleum products, Arnab, we also produce petchem. And India, as a fast-growing economy, growing at 7%, our global average, if you look at our per capita consumption, is much lower than the global average, much lower than China's. So we will need to ramp up our petchem production also. Insofar as the exports are concerned, when the Ukraine-Russia military operation took place, our imports from Russia were a minuscule. It was about 0.2%. And now today it's gone up from 35% to 35% plus, which is a function of market forces and the transparent imports that we conduct. We float a tender at the point of importation, and anyone who can supply that grade of crude is welcome to export to us, and we import from them. Today we are in a situation, there's enough oil available in the world. We have a very good increase in our consumption, in our demand for consumption. It's likely to go up by 25% of the total demand in the next 20 years will come from India. And we have a very good story to tell on our refining capacity. We'll be exporting more and more refined petroleum products.
Now, this is incredible that we have gone from a deficit to a major refining hub globally. But, Mr. Puri, are we giving the Europeans refined Russian oil effectively? Are we taking the crude from Russia, refining it here, making it Indian refined oil and sending it back? Because the EU foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell, had said that if diesel or gasoline is entering Europe coming from India and being produced with Russian oil, then it is a circumvention of sanctions and member states have to take measures. This was said by him sometime.
There are no sanctions on Russian oil. No, a lot of people have made a lot of statements. Let me assure you, there are no sanctions on Russian oil. When the European Union and the other countries in the West decided to take an ideological position on Russian oil, I want to remind you, at that point of time, all Russian energy coming through a pipeline to Hungary was exempt. And Hungary is a European Union country. And all energy going by a pipeline to China was exempt, and all energy being exported from Sakhalin in East Asia to Japan was exempt. Point one. The only stipulation was that they wanted to place Russian oil under a price cap, and we were quite happy. I mean, if we can buy crude oil cheaper, we'd be very happy to do that.
No, so they were foolish to put a price cap on Russian crude and oil products because they wanted to fight Russia. We took advantage of that. We took advantage of that and said, give us the crude, we'll refine it and give it to the rest of the world. Have we done that?
No. I don't think, I would be very careful. I spent 39 years in the world of diplomacy. I want to say very clearly that they took a position. They were actually, the United States and other countries were very happy that we were buying Russian oil. Because Russia produced, Arnab, something like 13 million barrels a day at that point of time.
Yes.
Supposing that 13 million barrels of oil had gone off the market, we would have put more pressure on Saudi oil and on UAE oil, which means the price of oil would have gone up to 200 barrels.
You're saying the West is happy that we are buying Russian oil. So are they you're saying they're actually very happy that we are buying Russian oil, which means it's all drama when they say we are funding the war.
Well, no. You see, I'm not the anchor, you are, so I must give you the privilege of choosing your adjectives. When you say they're happy, I think they have told us in confidence that they are happy that we are buying Russian oil because we have been able to keep global oil prices under check. They are also very happy, I think, that it's been done in a structured way. And if they have a sanction on some entities, etc., we are happy to comply with that. So I think it's a win-win for both sides. And today we are in a situation to diversify. We have diversified our imports from 27 countries to 39 countries. And we are in the happy situation today of providing relief to our consumers.
You've been very
smart. Yesterday on Dhanteras and today...
You've been very smart. I would say that Hardeep Singh Puri is a very canny man. He saw the advantage, the government saw the advantage, and eventually it's being routed back to Europe. And with your 39 years in diplomacy, you probably know that there's a lot of Western hypocrisy anyway, that they say one thing and do another. You're taking advantage of the fact that you know them well.
But I think the Honorable Prime Minister has been very clear and steadfast in his commitment to providing energy to the consumer at the lowest possible price. On 3 occasions, he has reduced the price by twice. He has decreased the excise duty in November 21, in May 22, and once a few months ago when 2 rupees it came down. So the total price of petrol and diesel has come down by 16 rupees and 13 rupees in the first thing, and it has come down subsequently by another 2 rupees. And yesterday we took a very far-sighted decision, thanks to the Honorable Prime Minister's commitment, where we have done some freight rationalization. So in some of the far-flung areas, in far-flung states, the price of petrol and diesel has come down by as much as 4 rupees per litre. Let me give you some statistics. In Arunachal Pradesh, in Tawang, it has come down by 3 rupees 72 paise petrol, and diesel by 2 rupees 89 paisa. In Lumla by 3 rupees 96 paisa per litre, and diesel by 3 rupees 12 paisa. We have done the same in Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Mizoram, Odisha, and the whole country. So all the geographies have been covered, except which are ones which are poll bound, and that we will do after the current round of elections is over. And I think this is a very big development, that whilst prices all over the world are going up, Modi's Bharat brings the prices down, and the benefit to the consumer is immense.
That's actually huge, but how the media is. We only report when prices of fuel go up. Have you ever seen in all these years the media report a story that fuel prices have gone down? But now that you've said it, I'm sure a lot of people will take notice of it. I repeat my question to you, the previous question, Mr. Puri. I think our oil diplomacy has been absolutely brilliant. It's practical, it's national interest oriented, and it's also very, if I would say, very, very flexible to the changing situations globally. However, Mr. Puri, I repeat my question to you. To somebody sitting in Europe today, in Switzerland or Germany or wherever they are, would you say that they will have to swallow the fact that the oil they're eventually using is, after all, or can be, after all, Russian oil, routed through Indian refineries? So they have to sort of swallow their pride a little bit, but isn't that a reality?
I liked the use of your term practical, national interest oriented. That sums up the Honorable Prime Minister. But the refined petroleum products that they are not getting just from India, they're getting them from all other parts of the world also. And they will import those products based on price sensitivity. But by the way, it would be useful for someone also to see how much of other energy is being imported directly by Europe from the Russian Federation. So I don't want to go into that detail, but this was a talking point. Let me assure you, it's no longer a talking point. I once had a European Union resident ambassador come to see me, a resident envoy come to see me and said, I've come to talk to you about this. I said, I'm very happy to meet you. I always like to meet friends, but check your facts before you have a discussion with me. I'm also in this game, and I know that. I think what you said about our policies being practical, national interest oriented, and flexible, in tune with the changing global environment, that sums up Prime Minister Modi's energy diplomacy, or I might say overall diplomacy as well.
Mr. Puri, last question. After this war ends, because all wars come to an end and eventually there is a negotiation, and then the West will become practical, regardless of whether Trump comes to power, they'll realize that this price cap on Russian crude and oil products to diminish Russia, to diminish their earning from oil, it's not going to work. It's failed. Then things will change. What when the price cap is removed? Because the artificial price cap. Then what happens to where we stand? How does it impact India?
You know, I'm not a soothsayer, and I find it very difficult, even though I know you for many years and I respect your crystal gazing, if I may call it. You know, if the war ends and they are able to export freely, I don't know what the international price of oil is going to be, because Arnab, today there is more oil on the market than there is demand. I mean, before all this global turbulence started, the global production and consumption was something close to 105 million barrels a day. Then the OPEC Plus introduced price cuts, and they brought it down to about 97 million barrels a day. In spite of all the global tension, Iran, Israel, the problems in Gaza, Lebanon, and the Ukraine-Russian thing, oil markets, oil prices are not going beyond 72 or 75. So I suspect once the war ends, we will be back to a realization that there are limits to controlling production. I think many countries realize that instead of effecting production cuts, they may be better off in using their oil, extracting it and selling it. So I expect oil prices to stabilize and come down with the passage of time and the end of the war.
I'll only wrap by saying this to you. You know, when the Prime Minister was at the Republic Summit last, I did say in his presence, I said that, Mr. Prime Minister, when history is written, a lot will be written about the way you managed India through the difficult times of global rough weather during Ukraine and how you kept national interest first. I may add by saying that when that book is written, Mr. Puri, there will be one big chapter on oil diplomacy and how all of our, the steps that we've taken, the innovation we've shown has really taken India into a different league. So the headline of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I also appreciate the candor of Hardeep Puri, not trying to swing away a headline saying, oh, we've replaced Saudi Arabia. He said they've got a lot of domestic production. But for me, the big takeaway is all the people who criticized us for funding the war and working with Russia are having to come to terms with where we stand as of tonight. Thank you so much, Mr. Puri, and happy Diwali to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy Diwali to you. I can only add one thing. You're being most kind. But that chapter on oil diplomacy is still being written, and we have to navigate the rest of it. But thank you very much, and happy Diwali, Arnab.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.